Good morning, Patriots. We are back with another episode of the Bald Brad Show, where we break down all the major news headlines you need to know about, and we also give you a bunch of information that the media won't tell you about. And that's why you come here, folks, because there's always a spin, there's always a narrative, and we call it out here. Now, we are a conservative podcast, meaning we have a conservative bias, but that doesn't mean we're beholden to the Republican Party. That doesn't mean we're beholden to anybody other than really ourselves in the conservative movement, meaning we want to conserve values, traditions, things that make America great. And so long as we keep doing those things, America will be great. If you haven't already, make sure you check out baldbrad.com. Again, we have a website that is baldbrad.com. Check it out. We have a book. It is the holiday season. If you click on this link right here at the top, click here to buy now. You get yourself a copy of Trojan Horse. It's available in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle. So please check that out for all yourselves. And we also have a store here. Now, shipping sometimes takes a little while. So if you get it in now, hopefully you could try to get it before Christmas. We got mugs, we got hoodies, we got stickers, we got all that fun stuff. And we might switch up some things coming up this new year. So we'll kind of see what happens with that as well. I apologize if there is a beep in the background. That is, I believe, my computer. As to why it's making that noise, I literally actually don't have a clue. It's like trying to connect and disconnect with something. There it is again. I don't know what that is. Hold on a second. Maybe it's my headphones. Maybe it's connecting and disconnecting my headphones. No absolute idea. Absolute. Alrighty. Well, Hegseth is in the news. You have Donald Trump in the news as always. Minnesota is issuing illegal licenses, and SCOTUS takes on pro-life targeting. So we're going to spend some time in those topics. If you haven't already, if you could hit the like button, that thumbs up button down at the bottom of your screen or wherever it's at on your phone, that would be extremely helpful, because what that does is it sends my videos out there to new viewers who haven't seen my content or my videos. And we would really love your support in all of that. So thank you to everybody that always hits that like button. Also, make sure, if it's possible, to leave a comment below. I don't know, basically saying whatever you want. Maybe tell us your favorite morning drink, your cup of coffee. I have no idea. By the way, let me know in the chat if you guys can hear that. If you can hear that noise, I might actually mute my desktop. Yeah, I'm going to mute my desktop background. There it is again. So I'm going to mute that so you're not going to be able to hear it. And then when we have a video, we'll be able to hear it. But no idea why that keeps happening. I have no clue what that is. All right. Well, anyways, it's going to keep beeping in my damn ear. But as long as you don't hear it, that's what's important. Let's roll with what we got here. So we have here the headline that Trump backs Hegseth in a cabinet meeting. So President Trump yesterday convened a cabinet meeting and made one message out of the whole thing unmistakably clear: that the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, isn't going anywhere. He's not going to resign. He's not going to quit like the Democrat Party and the mainstream media keep telling everybody that he should do. In fact, Trump doubled down, saying the strikes against those narco-terrorists will continue and intensify, for that matter. And look, this whole entire controversy over the so-called illegal strike has been manipulated, twisted, I would say in some cases weaponized by the mainstream media. That whole machine, that apparatus that has spent literally 10 years trying to criminalize the U.S. force and projection. I would say longer than 10 years, but we can get a solid decade out of them for sure. But now their narrative is falling apart in real time. So there's many kind of sections to this. There is the smear campaign against Hegseth. So Pete Hegseth has been under fire for allegedly ordering a second strike on survivors of a Venezuelan family running boat. And those survivors, according to early reporting, were deemed as being helpless, shipwrecked, and no longer a threat. So the implication to all this? Well, Pete Hegseth committed a war crime is what they're telling us. The problem is the New York Times, that New York Times just blew up the whole central accusation. This is what's new. In a rare moment where the Times actually admits that their own media pals jumped the gun, the paper cites 5 separate U.S. officials who confirmed, yes, Hegseth ordered a strike, but watch this. No, it was not in response to footage showing survivors, and no, he did not instruct forces to delete anyone who survived. Meaning, the New York Times right here called them out. They're liars. And they should be fired for something like this, because that is a massive accusation to make. In other words, the entire Hegseth narrative, this anti-push they're doing against him, was built on assumptions, leaks, and the also famous with the media ever since Barack Obama, anonymous speculation. And now it's collapsing. What the Times doesn't highlight, though, is actually even more important, believe it or not. Because these terrorists, these weren't fishermen, these weren't refugees, desperate migrants. No, they're narco-terrorists moving fentanyl towards U.S. shores. These are people who have helped delete over 70,000 Americans per year. And the Democrats and the media are all up in arms that Donald Trump is doing something about it. And we were saying on Dark MAGA yesterday that Donald Trump has these people so pretzeled in their mind. He has them so twisted up that they legitimately are now advocating the support of terrorists. Think about that. We are now in the realm where not only will they fly to different countries for illegal immigrants and visit them in prison, not only will they take to the streets to advocate for criminals to be in your country, some of which are deleting, doing horrible and heinous things to American citizens. They will take to the streets on behalf of those people. We are now at the point where the Democrat Party is advocating for terrorists. That's a crazy thing. That is a really crazy thing. And by the way, I don't know where else you go after that. I said in Dark MAGA, I think if we ever got attacked by a terrorist, that I think the Democrat Party would actually be advocating for a terrorist. That you can't go after him. Oh, he had a family. You got to give him a second chance. Like, you can't give him a second chance. He blew himself up along with everybody else. So these people were designated as enemy combatants under the Trump doctrine, which is legally grounded in both the 2001 AUMF and the 2019 Counter Narco-Terrorism Directive, the CND. That CND allows U.S. forces to treat cartel as affiliated traffickers as foreign terrorist actors, basically. But that's the part the Democrats omit, because acknowledging it destroys the war crime narrative. The question you got to be asking yourself, what actually happened on the water? Like, what really took place then? Because there's a lot of hearsay. Oh, well, I did this. Oh, he did that. Blah, 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 blah. The operation targeted a vessel hauling fentanyl up the Caribbean corridor. And it's a route that U.S. intelligence agencies have flagged for years as top-tier trafficking lane tied to Cartel of the Suns, which is it's a Venezuelan like military cartel, basically. You have FARC dissidents. You have Hezbollah affiliates working through Latin America. And yes, that's Hezbollah. You heard that correctly. The DEA and the Treasury have documented these connections in this whole surrounding region for literally decades. It's not a theory. This isn't Brad making it up. This isn't anything of the sort. This is real. This has been going on way longer than Trump's been in office. It's been going on for like 30 years, man. So when the U.S. strike team engaged, the boat was neutralized. Evidence showed it was cartel linked, and intelligence indicated threat continuation. Reports were saying that surveillance saw 2 survivors clinging to wreckage, but again, no order was ever given to delete survivors. The Times completely dispelled that claim the other day. And by the way, where were the Democrats when Barack Obama launched over 500 drone strikes, many of which had far less clarity and oversight than these maritime interdictions? Just where were they? It's a question. Oh, it's just throwing it out there. I mean, Barack Obama deleted an American citizen with a strike. Many of you don't even know that. Why? Because the media didn't want you to know it is why. Got a lot of questions about that one. You can Google that bad boy in your free time. Yeah, he deleted an American citizen with a freaking missile. Also, where was the Democrats in the mainstream media when Biden's Afghanistan withdrawal drone strike deleted 10 civilians? And of those 10, 7 of them were children. Oh, right. Yeah, they were silent. Yeah, you couldn't find them. Because the outrage is never about the actions. It's always about the politics. It's just a bunch of theater. Trump has his position in this. I mean, Trump stood shoulder to shoulder with Hegseth yesterday, saying, quote, "We're going to continue the strikes and we're going to protect our people," end quote. And that's what we like about Trump. Behind closed doors, Trump repeatedly told advisors, America is letting cartels delete our kids. There's truth to that. And look, this resonates with people. It resonates with the American people of what Trump is saying. People want to be protected. People are tired of being ran over by these narco terrorists, these drugs pouring in, because it's deleting their kids. It's deleting their husbands and their wives. Behind closed doors, people are loving this. So the polls are showing 68% of Americans now support labeling Mexican cartels as terrorist organizations. 68%. Fentanyl has now become the number one killer of American ages 18 to 55. Synthetic opioids delete more Americans annually, listen to this, than Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and 9/11 combined annually. And Democrats can't fathom why Trump wants to do this. Brain ain't working, man. And it hasn't been working for a long time. It's working at the same capacity as Joey's brain. Makes sense why the administration is cracking down and has the support of Homeland Security, special operation commanders, and even some Democrats privately, some Democrats. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, the spin and everything else they're doing with all this. So that is that piece of news. Hopefully everybody's doing okay. And hopefully the beeping is no longer in your ears, but it's in mine. That's always fun. I keep hearing it and it's driving me nuts and I can't figure out where the heck it's coming from. I got to figure this out. I'm going to hit my head against the wall. I don't know. I don't know why it's making that beeping noise. It has to be my headphones. It's like it's trying to connect and disconnect or something. Where are you coming from? Where are you? All righty. Well, we also have some other news here. But before we move on to that other news, if you can hit that like and subscribe button, that'd be greatly appreciated. That helps us out quite a bit. If you're new here, let us know in the live chat. We'd love to give you a shout out in the chat with all the patriots that's in there. We usually get a few thousand views an episode on all platforms. So appreciate everybody that's in the chat with me today. All righty. Well, Minnesota's illegal license loophole is what we're looking at. And I don't know why it always shows. I'm not looking for underwear. It always shows me this underwear from Daily Wire. Let's do this. Minnesota is in some serious federal hot water right now. And it's not a small bureaucratic mistake. According to the Trump administration, the state has been issuing commercial driver's license to foreign nationals who aren't legally allowed to hold them. Not a handful. We're talking a large number. And now federal officials are done waiting. They've had enough. So what happened here was we had Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announcing that the federal government is going to withhold over $30 million in highway funding unless Minnesota Governor Tim Walz steps in and revokes the illegal issued licenses. By the way, this wasn't a suggestion that was being given. It was a 30-day ultimatum. And why? Because issuing commercial licenses to people who aren't legally in the country or who can't prove lawful residency is not only a violation of federal law, it's a threat to public safety, national security, and interstate infrastructure. But again, I know I repeat myself, I'm so clear with this. I don't know why the Democrats, specifically that entire party, had such an issue with understanding this. They legitimately think everybody's just good people, that nobody wants to harm them or this country or has long-term goals to try to destroy us from the within. Like every country's just good. There's no evil out there. Da-dee-dee, ba-dee-doo, live in an alternate reality. This is so fun. That's what happens when you grow up in a milieu, in a social bubble, starting with the education system in your own family, and you're not actually given in the education system what the real horrors of war and what real evil looks like out there in the world. They'll show it. Don't get me wrong. The evils that they'll show is what America did, not anybody else. Not Mao, not really Stalin. They'll show some of Hitler, but even the majority of the youth don't even know that the Holocaust existed. And now they're starting to actually believe that it never existed in the first place. The Department of Transportation, when kind of looking into this whole thing, found that Minnesota wasn't even alone in all this. But it was Minnesota whose case was bad enough that the administration explicitly singled it out. So it's happening other places, like California, by the way. That's kind of mind-blowing that California is closer to the border. Minnesota's furthest from the border, but Minnesota has a greater problem than California does. It almost makes it seem like that's hard to believe. But as always, here's the information and the details the mainstream media, the whole press, refuse to highlight. Federal law requires CDL holders to prove lawful presence because these aren't ordinary licenses. These licenses that they have are to operate 40-ton machines on public roadways. This isn't voter registration fraud. It's not even tax paperwork fraud. We're talking 18-wheelers barreling down the highway at like 70 miles an hour. Now, it's not 70. They'll probably go 70 because, well, they can't read English and they just were given these licenses. But you're not supposed to really go over 55 miles an hour. Now, believe it or not, Tim Walz comes out and starts talking about all this. His administration says that they are, quote, reviewing, end quote, the notice and claim. Of course, they care so deeply about safety is what he said. They care about safety. He used that key word. He used the words reviewing and safety. But the truth, because that's what we're always trying to seek after, Minnesota's legislator passed multiple laws in recent years, making it easier for non-citizens, including illegal immigrants, to obtain forms of state identification. So on one hand, you go, oh, well, we're going to review the issue and we're really concerned about safety. No, you're not. How do I know that? You're saying that with your mouth, Tim, but your legislature is doing it with actual actions. And quite frankly, I care more about what somebody does than what they say because people say stupid stuff all the time. That's why I like Trump. Trump says stupid stuff all the time. I love what the guy does. Let me wet my whistle really quick. So Waltz's legislature has passed multiple laws to obtain these state identifications. Critics are warning and had warned that this would create loopholes in the CDL vetting. And it turns out, after them wafting their hands everywhere, freaking out, that they were right. And the problem isn't just some clerical error, as the media is trying to make it, sound out to be. It's just an accident. Yeah, just Betsy over there didn't know what she was doing. Yeah, she's retired. Give her a break. She's working hard. They did an audit, and what it showed was system failures inside Minnesota's Department of Public Safety. And that failed the allowed applicants to bypass. So their procedure sucked. Applicants bypassed lawful presence verification in this audit, domicile requirements, country of origin document screening, and commercial driver residency rules. We're being told this is a clerical mistake. That's what we're told. Really. So when we look at all this, and you're having applicants bypass the lawful presence verification, the domicile requirements, the country of origin document screening, and the commercial driver's license residency rules, that is not a typo. That is not an oopsie, I put in a J when it's supposed to be a K or whatever. That's a complete breakdown. And we all know the intentions of doing this. This isn't an accident. It's not a oopsie. It's a implementation of a policy through the legislature that Tim Walz wanted, and now he's pretending because he got caught with his pants down, because there's actual pushback right now, because people realize that, entire families are being wiped out by these people. We got to do something. But don't worry, it's all about safety on their roads. And he actually said in the article, he said he takes it seriously. No, we know you take this whole thing seriously because you had your legislature pass a bunch of BS stuff that's how deleting people. I mean, we know you take it serious. Now, the safety part, not really. The safety for illegals is what you'll take care of, not for actual Americans. See, the words that they're using, they do believe in. You have to understand that they do believe in it. It's just how they believe in it is different than what you think. The safety isn't for safety for you. Oh, no. You're an American. It was never about you. Yeah, I know it's your home. Yeah, I know it's your country. Yeah, I know you pay taxes. I know all that. Stop it. You don't tell me. Yeah, the safety was never about you. The safety's for illegal immigrants. Yeah, they don't care what happens to you. Oh, that's been shown for a long time. Are you kidding me? I mean, has your congressman ever knocked on your door and said, hey, I would love to come in and take care of you and answer any questions you may have? Because they'll do it for illegal immigrants. They'll fly to different countries. I mean, there's been people sent to North Korea that got deleted, like that youngster many, many years ago for hanging up a poster allegedly, or taking down a poster. I never saw a Democrat go over there for him. Never saw a Republican either. No. They take it seriously enough to pass laws and implement certain actions that allow this to happen. That's how seriously they take it. You just got it backwards is all. And again, Minnesota isn't the only state that's doing this. This whole investigation, the Department of Transportation, they uncovered a massive problem in this whole thing. California has over 17,000 questionable commercial licenses. 17,000. Illinois was flagged for improper background checks. New York, had failures in lawful presence vetting. Colorado and Washington had CDL testing loopholes. This is a nationwide problem. And here's the fact that's not in the article, but is essential to this whole thing. In 2022, the DHS Inspector General found that states were issuing CDLs without checking the federal SAVE database. What that database does, it's a system that's used to verify lawful immigration status. So they just put a blindfold. I can't see anything. Just give it to them. Federal auditors warned that this would enable cartel traffickers, human smugglers, terror-linked foreign nationals, visa overstayers, fraudulent asylum applicants to legally operate commercial trucks. I'm going to be very clear in my wording. This is not theoretical. This is not even a right-wing me pushing or left wing. I have not given my opinion yet. This is all factual information that is happening. And the Democrats are the reason for it. This has deadly consequences. The article that I showed you before mentions one devastating case, and it's awful. It talks about a newlywed couple that was deleted by a trucker who should have never even been licensed in the first place. But but when you widen the lens on this whole thing, you kind of see an even more horrific picture. From 2019 to last year, 2024, over 90 Americans died in crashes involving commercial drivers who were later found to have improper or fraudulent licenses. And the Democrats and these protesters use the narrative that, oh, well, it's only 90 people. I mean, how many people use the roadways every day? And then you do the math every year, you're talking fractions of a percent of people that have perished because of this issue. The problem is, it's an issue that should have never happened in the first place. And this is a common theme that they're not able to grasp. They can't wrap their head around it for the life of them. And that theme is, when an illegal immigrant deletes somebody, they're not able to grasp that that action, that event, because they should have never been in the country in the first place, quite literally would have never happened if the laws were just upheld by the Biden administration. In the same way here, if these people, some of them illegal immigrant truck drivers, by the way, especially in the state of California, where I live, were never given licenses, that doesn't mean it wouldn't have stopped because they might have just drove anyways. But the idea of having an improper or fraudulent license and deleting somebody, and when you take that in combination, quite literally would have never happened. What I found was there was a crash in Colorado in 2020 that deleted 4 people. In Arizona in 2021, there was another crash that killed 3 people. And then I found in 2023, Texas bus collision deleted 7. And then there was multiple fentanyl trafficking busts that were linked to the CDL holding foreign nationals. So there's these foreign nationals that were basically moving around a little bit of grass, a little bit of, I guess that wouldn't be fentanyl, but a little bit of the reefer, you know what I mean? A little bit of the smoky dopey. Again, the problem isn't hypothetical, man. It's a lethal one. And yet Tim Walz, that whole administration, don't worry, they sent out a letter. Yep. And that letter said that they were reviewing the letter. I just got to ask, is that going to give some reassurance to all of you, the public, that Tim Walz, that guy, the guy that said seriously and reviewing and we take safety, that he's reviewing the letter and that's supposed to give us all reassurance? So as you can imagine, there's political fallout on this whole thing. Republicans are saying this is exactly what happens when Democrat states pursue sanctuary-style licensing. Democrats, including Walz themselves, say it's the crackdown is political. What does that even mean? What, Trump is just doing this to score points to win again? The sad thing is they believe that. Yes, that's exactly what they believe. Trump trolls them with 2028 hats. He's already said multiple times out of his own mouth, by the way, that he's not going to run again. But because they think he's a liar, they think he is going to run again. And so they think this is to score political points by doing his job to protect American citizens. Look, even if it is, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he was going to plan on running in 2028 and that to score political points. Isn't this still a good thing to do? Is get people that shouldn't be driving off the roads? Now, here's the thing that party cannot spin. That these commercial licenses violate federal law, period. When you issue CDLs to visa overstayers, to temporary visitors, to asylum applicants with no lawful status, by the way, to people claiming residency with unverifiable addresses, you are not just bending the rules or doing a little clerical error. You're actually endangering people's lives. And we're not talking about just adults. You know how many kids drive to school every day? Under the Trump administration, the message is clear. Fix it or lose federal funding. And that needs to happen. Well, what comes next? Now that we're in this whole debacle, I'm reviewing the letter. I'm all about safety and safety for American people. Sure you are. What comes next? Minnesota has now 30 days. Actually, I guess at this point, what is it, December 3rd? They have less than a month. They have less than 30 days to identify illegal licenses. They need to revoke them, overhaul their whole vetting system, and then certify compliance with federal standards. If they don't do this, they lose the money. And this becomes a national political showdown. And it won't stop in Minnesota or California. A dozen other states are going to face similar audits because this isn't about some paperwork. This is about states creating this shadow licensing system that exposes Americans to catastrophic risk. And for the first time in a long time, it's nice to see the federal government drawing a hard line in the sand and doing something about it. And it really is baffling that there's a good portion of this country that for some reason doesn't see that. And I'm not sure why. And I don't have an answer for you, unfortunately. And when I do, and if you're able to find one, well, let me know. Because I would love to let everybody else know that type of wisdom. If you're enjoying what you're listening and hearing and seeing, well, hit that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate your help here on the show. Really appreciate all of you. Okay, well, SCOTUS, there's a case on pro-life targeting that's happening. Let's see if I get this up for all of you. Today, the United States Supreme Court, I suppose was today, Wednesday, so this would have been yesterday. This is what happens when you show prep late at night. You say today, but you meant, today's Wednesday, but, today when I wrote it was Tuesday. What they heard was, some are saying, the most important First Amendment case of the year. And kind of looking at it, the Daily Wire's really, I'm not going to say they're the only person talking about it, but I would say almost nobody in the mainstream media is talking about it. Because the case exposes something that the far left has been doing quietly for years, and that is weaponizing state power to intimidate pro-life organizations. The case is called First Choice, it's right here, First Choice Women's Resource Centers, Incorporated, versus Plankton. And I mean, can I just point out, that's a really weird name. Like, I think of SpongeBob when I hear that word. And depending on the Supreme Court rules, it could slam the brakes on blue state attorney generals using their offices to harass, surveil, and effectively punish pro-life pregnancy centers. And we need to break this down really quick. The Democrats in the mainstream media are saying, well, they would never surveil. They would never do things like this. Yes, they would. You had Crossfire Hurricane, where all of our three-letter agencies, on behalf of the Obama administration, I guess that one would be the Obama administration, were spying on American citizens. And then, if that's not bad enough, Joe Biden took a page out of Barack Obama's playbook when he was vice president, when Barack Obama was president himself, and said, you know what, let's do Operation Arctic Frost, and let's also surveil Americans. It's a common theme with that party. They love doing that. Well, what is this case really about here? New Jersey's Democrat Attorney General, Matt Plankton, right here, created something he literally called a, quote, reproductive rights strike force. It's a heck of a name. This wasn't a neutral regulatory review. This wasn't consumer protection. This was an ideological operation designed to target pregnancy centers, the places that provide diapers, ultrasounds, adoption referrals, parental help, and counseling, because they don't conduct abortions. They do all these great things because it's for pregnancy, you guys. That's where you have a baby, a human being come out of you, and then you raise it and hopefully do things correctly with it so it turns into a productive U.S. citizen and has a great life. But Democrats are up in arms because it doesn't kill the baby. Yeah, that's the problem. Well, at that point, you wouldn't be having a pregnancy, would you? Be committing murder. Those aren't murder centers. They're pregnancy resource centers. That's not a resource to have a pregnancy. That's a resource to commit murder is what that is. But you can't talk like that because Democrats and there are people that are pro-choice. I used to be pro-choice for literally the majority of my life, by the way. You don't think it's a human being. The Attorney General, Matt Plankton, issued a statewide, get this, consumer alert. He issued this statewide. This massive alert goes out, and he calls it a consumer alert, smearing these centers, claiming that they misled women despite producing zero complaints from actual patients. Kind of like what they did with Trump, right? Oh, he committed fraud. And the banks were like, nobody complained about Trump ever. They're like, no, we actually like the guy. He paid us back early. Can you stop doing this? Can you stop these lawsuits? We actually still want to do business with the guy. Can you please leave us alone? It's a silly analogy, but it's kind of what's happening here. Nobody has any problems with what's going on with these pregnancy centers. And they're like, no, hey, everything was great. Like, this is a great resource. Can you like not mess with them because they're doing great work? Please understand what I'm saying is not speculation. Under questioning yesterday, Plankton's office admitted, they literally admitted with their own words that they never received a single complaint. Not one. They didn't have actual nothing against First Choice. Not one. Despite that, even though Plankton issued a sweeping subpoena demanding personal donor lists, volunteer rosters, internal communications, staff training materials, pregnancy records, that wasn't oversight. That was pure intimidation that he was doing, pure and simple. The Supreme Court's reaction to all of this, you had Aaron Howley from the Alliance Defending Freedom. That is the organization that's representing First Choice, the pregnancy center. And she said something telling here. She said, quote, "I'd rather be on our side than theirs," end quote. Why did she say this? Because even some of the left-leaning justices were openly skeptical of New Jersey's actions. You had Justice Amy Coney Barrett highlighted the clear hostility the state showed towards pro-life centers. But is that even a real surprise? Justice Alina Kagan, not exactly like a conservative icon, by the way, hammered New Jersey on the donor list issue. She essentially said, quote, "If I received a subpoena demanding the names, addresses, and phone numbers of my donors, I'd be concerned." Yeah, but why? Why would you be concerned? Because forced disclosure chills free speech is what that does. A principle the court has upheld, by the way, since NAACP versus Alabama in the 1950s. It's like 1958. When Southern Democrats tried to force disclosure of NAACP donors to intimidate them, meaning this is a traced tactic by that party that's been conducted numerous amounts of times and utilized numerous amounts of times, and they continue to do it, by the way. And they've done it with other organizations and three-letter agencies, most specifically and most recently, the IRS, to go after conservatives specifically. And Kagan connected the dots. And that's bad news for New Jersey. There was a moment in the courtroom that did blow up, though. Justice Clarence Thomas delivered the devastating question, "Did you receive any complaints about First Choice?" And the New Jersey attorney had the answer no. Then Thomas pressed even further, saying, quote, "Then why did you investigate them?" End quote. By the way, there was no good answer because the investigation wasn't based on consumer harm. It was based on an ideological disagreement. And this is critical, by the way. The Supreme Court has repeatedly held that governments cannot target organizations simply because they dislike their viewpoint. This is viewpoint discrimination, the most disfavored type of government action, by the way. And Thomas exposed for what it was, a politically motivated fishing expedition. In the bigger context here, that was kind of hard to find, is this case is part of a much larger pattern. In the last 3 years, California, New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, Michigan, and Washington have all launched investigations into pro-life centers despite having received little to no complaints at all. Meaning you are seeing a replicated process. And that's why I said it's a strategy and a tactic that's been traced back for decades by this party. And they continue to do it. At the same time, more than 100 pregnancy centers were firebombed, vandalized, or attacked after the Dobbs decision. Yet Biden's DOJ has secured only one conviction. All these centers up in flames, all this vandalism taking place, but only one conviction. I'm surprised there's only one. I'm surprised there wasn't any. No, I still haven't heard of any convictions for the Black Lives Matters that burned down our cities left and right. Everyone went around with free television, sneakers, and a bunch of ash. The DOJ prosecuted pro-life people, though. Yeah, so you get to burn down all these pregnancy centers and vandalize them and attack them. But the DOJ prosecuted pro-life people's sidewalk counselors under the FACE Act with SWAT-style raids. So when New Jersey claims this subpoena was routine, the Supreme Court sees the broader pattern. Ideological hostility, government intimidation, chilling of protected speech, we could say, compelled disclosure of donors, no evidence of wrongdoing. This is actually why the case matters. And the big question before the court that needs to be addressed is, can a state use consumer fraud laws to punish a pregnancy center because it refuses to perform abortions and doesn't promote them? I mean, the obvious answer would seem to be no. But states like New Jersey argue that they could regulate these centers because they might mislead people by not mentioning abortion enough. By that logic, a vegan restaurant could investigate and be investigated for not serving meat. A Catholic school could be subpoenaed for not promoting atheism. A Muslim charity could be targeted for not advocating LGBT cases or causes. This is compelled speech. This is viewpoint discrimination, and this is government overreach. The Supreme Court appears to recognize that. Let's hope that they get it right. Now, the likely outcome here is, I'm going to guess, a 6-3 or maybe even a 7-2 win for Pro-Life Center. And that would be huge for all of us because we're all pro-life people for the most part. And most of us are pro-speech, free speech as well. So thank you so much for everybody joining me today. You're like, Brad, it's not 7 o'clock yet. I do have to get dressed really quickly and go to a meeting. I have an early morning meeting at work today, but I want to thank all of you for always joining me. I hope you appreciate the news and the information that we're providing you. We're going to go more in depth as the new year kicks off, and we'll be back here tomorrow, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, for another episode of the Bald Brad Show, where we'll break down more news for all of you, give you even more information, and keep this going. But thank you to everybody that hits that like button. Thank you to everybody that donates. Hopefully I didn't miss any activity. And Blackbird, you know, I forget. I apologize. Blackbird, yesterday, I believe yesterday or today, you gifted 5 subs. So thank you to Blackbird for gifting 5 subs. I don't know if I missed that today or that was yesterday, but I want to make sure I give a shout out because that's important. Blackbird gifted 5 subs. So thank you. And thank you to Karen on November 17th, gave $10, by the way. That was something I believe I missed, but I want to make sure I highlight all that activity and everybody that donates. And by the way, if you want to make a donation through the website, baldbrad.com, really quickly does have a donation tab for all of you up here. If you just click that donation tab, you can make a difference. And that goes all directly back to the show. Don't feel like you have to. Custom amount, one-time donation, weekly, monthly. A lot of people do their monthly donations through here. And if you want to toss $1,000 in there, I'll take it. I'll take 1,000. Thank you again. I really do appreciate hanging out with all of you every single morning. You let me into your homes, you let me into your ears, you let me into your workplace, wherever you're listening to this show. And well, take care of yourselves, and God bless all of you. With that being said, have a nice day. Take care, Patriots.